Okay. Hi, good morning, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. I want to introduce introduce those with you right here. We have Ed Marcunas, who's going to serve as the Director of the Building and Codes Enforcement, Thomas Humback, who is our County Attorney. The other county employees here are Frank Felices in the back, ITS, Bob Gruffy for Facilities, Stephen Powers for the County Executive's Office, Paul Brennan for Purchasing, Chris Keir, Fire and Emergency Services, and we have any other county, and a number of our inspectors are here, both independent and also from the Village of Spring Valley. I'm very proud to stand before you today because we achieved something you could call near impossible. Most don't understand that creating a department in a county or in a government office is not the simplest thing in the world. There's a lot that has to go into it. A lot of departments are involved, but we have completed the mission by establishing a brand new county office of building and codes. As I said, it's been very, very difficult, and it's been 90 days since we were ordered by the state of New York to undertake the unprecedented task of assuming the functions and responsibilities of the Spring Valley Building Department. Despite it being a near insurmountable mission, launching the office we are standing before today is a major step forward in protecting the people of Spring Valley. Preparing for this day has been an all-hands-on-deck scenario with staff in the Office of Fire Emergency Services, Facilities Department, Purchasing Department, Information Technology and Services, Law Department, Personnel Department, Finance Department, Consumer Protection, Health Department, and the Office of the County Executive all taking a part, which explains why this is so difficult to establish. I want to particularly thank Steve Powers, my Director of Public Policy and Intergovernmental Relations, for his tireless efforts in this endeavor. Just to explain the scope of what we have accomplished. My administration met weekly with New York State and Spring Valley village officials and attorneys. Our law department, led by County Attorney Tom Humback, with the help of Assistant County Attorney Kimberly Von Ron, drafted 5 new resolutions over the last 90 days, which the county legislature reviewed and it did vote affirmatively on. The Facilities Department, led by Bob Gruffy, transformed what was an old, used cafeteria into the office space you see in just 20 days. Information and Technology Services launched a new webpage to support and improve upon the services that we now are providing. And this barely scrapes the surface of the hard work that was needed to get this done. So I really want to give a huge thank you to all the departments in the county who helped achieve this in only 90 days. I also want to make it clear that the County of Rockland has no interest in permanently operating the village's building department, and in fact, our mission is to fix it and move on. That is precisely what the state order says, and that's the end result that we are looking to achieve. This lays the groundwork for a smooth transition of this department under our control and prepares for the day that the state decides to return it back to the village. The agreement with the village, and one thing I do want to emphasize, this is the first time in the history of the state of New York that this has ever been done. It's a very unique scenario. The agreement with the village outlines our expectations and requirements for our working relationship, including accessing their record-keeping program, allowing their existing building and fire inspectors to report to and work for the county. The inclusion of fully vetted existing village inspectors is beneficial because they know that the local conditions best, and with the appropriate oversight, training, and direction, they will help speed up this process significantly, including for the eventual return of this function to the village as directed by New York State. I promise the people of Rockland that my top goal is fulfilling this order from New York State is to protect the health and safety of village residents, visitors, and first responders. To do that, the county will not hesitate to issue substantial fines to those in violation of state codes and to do whatever is necessary to bring all this into compliance. Let me be very clear. Fines are not the primary goal. Compliance is. And what compliance means is that we are correcting dangerous conditions that put lives at risk. We all know we've already lost a hero firefighter here in Spring Valley. We cannot allow things like happen ever again. I couldn't be proud of the person that we selected to undertake this effort, Mr. Ed Marcunas. He is incredibly qualified to oversee this new office and serve as our director. Not only is he a man of impeccable character and the highest integrity, he's also served in the NYPD. He is a veteran serving in the Coast Guard, The mayor of the village of Suffern, which of course with that, one of his duties was managing Suffern's building department. And you also launched the local codes initiative program that was much like what we have at the county level. I have the absolute full faith in his ability to resolve many of the issues facing residents and businesses of Spring Valley. And with that, I'd like to bring up Ed Marquez for a few words.
Thank you and good morning. Thank you, County Executive Day. First, I want to thank everyone within the county government that helped establish the new office. It was no easy task, and the work is only just beginning. To get the job done right, this office will be operating under a strict zero-tolerance policy. Any employee who does not comport entirely with the rules and regulations of New York State will be removed from participating in our effort. Additionally, when it comes to enforcement of the codes of the state of New York, we will treat everyone fairly and equally under the law within the singular goal of achieving compliance, as our county executive stated. Make no mistakes, we will not hesitate to issue fines to those in violations of the state codes. As the county executive said, fines are not the goal. They are just a tool that we will utilize whenever necessary. And in our county law department, we are ready, or they are ready, to ensure that any fines are paid in full. The real challenge of this process starts now. Based on the information provided by Spring Valley, there are over 800 outstanding inspections that we must tackle as quickly as possible and will be prioritized based on safety. To get through the backlog, we have 20 certified code inspectors and several support staff ready to go, which consist of county employees, Spring Valley employees, and private contractors. As this process plays out, we are prepared to increase staffing and inspectors as needed. We will also be doing a comprehensive review of all of the outstanding violations and current complaints, and request that all interested parties begin submitting to our complaints department, and that can be done by calling our new office phone line at 845-364-3700 or emailing buildingsandcodes@rockland.co.rockland.ny.us. Additionally, while our main office is located here in Pomona, to accommodate the needs of village residents, we will soon be opening a small Rockland County Buildings and Codes satellite office in Spring Valley at Village Hall. It will be staffed by a clerk and certified code inspectors to provide forms and answer questions. And I want to emphasize that nothing will be approved or signed off in this satellite office. Those functions will occur only under my supervision here in Pomona. And now I'd just like to go back to our county executive and thank everyone once again.
Thank you very much. And also, in order to try and maintain that identity of the village of Spring Valley, because the fact of the matter is, we really do need to respect each other level of government. We are planning to have 2 drop boxes at 2 locations for village residents, that they can drop things off if they cannot get to the satellite office. A couple of other points I'd like to bring up. As we launch this effort, at my direction, we are instituting a 30-day moratorium that will end on March 15th. While we appreciate this may be an inconvenience to some, the moratorium allows us to focus on and resolve the backlog, not only the backlog of cases, but also looking at any complaints that show an imminent threat to life, health, and safety. We feel for 30 days that is really probably the best bang for our buck in this effort, is to make sure that anything that's coming our way that could end up being a tragedy is addressed as rapidly as possible. We must be more complaint-driven out of the gate to prevent any further tragedy within the village of Spring Valley. I also want to reiterate a few of the points that Director Markunis has made. The new office will ensure strict compliance with all New York State fire, building, and energy codes. There will be zero tolerance for anyone looking to skirt or circumvent it. Unlike the previous village building department administration, the administration, not the inspectors, a culture of corruption will not be tolerated. To those who may attempt to revisit that will be dealt with severely. There will be an independent quality control and operational oversight piece to the effort that will ensure inspections are done right and done by the book. Let me be clear, we are not here to punish anyone, but we will use all the tools at our disposal to achieve compliance. It is a simple notion. Follow the regulations designed to ensure safety while protecting life and property. It is frustrating there are some who are going to argue against that very simple, intelligent point. Our Rockland Codes initiative, while limited in enforcing the county's sanitary code, as has always done, will work in tandem with every municipality, including Spring Valley. They have made great strides in turning slumlords into landlords and improving our housing stock countywide, and we are confident to see similar results in Spring Valley. Launched in 2015 and now renamed the Rockland Codes Investigations Unit, this program has performed more than 38,000 inspections and issued over 44,000 violations and collected more than $2.2 million in fines. Again, we are not looking to issue fines. All we are seeking is compliance with New York State law to preserve the safety of Spring Valley residents, visitors, and businesses. But know this, if fines need to be issued, they will be substantial, and just like RCI, they'll be designed to blunt the illegal just the course of doing business approach to construction. With that, we can take some questions now. Yes, Steve.
Ed, where we last left off last week, Spring Valley had not turned over the files and documents. What's the status on that as we are here today?
That has been corrected, and we have access to all files.
Okay. A hypothetical, as your inspectors hit buildings, hit homes of single-family homes, if they find that there have been conversions to two-family or three-family or even more, what's going to be the policy? Will you be, that's a tax issue as well, a legal tax issue as well. What's going to be the policy on illegal conversions?
The policy is going to be that we expect to have compliance with the existing codes, or at least something can be done governmentally that will ensure that safety is there. But at the end of the day, whatever we have to do to ensure that occurs, we will do. That includes heavy fines if necessary.
So you wouldn't be forcing people to go from two families back to the original. You want them to conform however that works.
You create a situation, it's your responsibility to fix it. That's something that we're working through with the local government, as simple as that.
Who's going to be prosecuting the fines and where?
County Attorney Tom Humbeck.
We're accustomed in Rockland County to a regimen where most building and code fines are brought in the local municipal courts in New York City and in Rockland. We're going to have a system much like the RCI, where we have an administrative court. There will be hearing officers, or the director will hear things directly. Both parties will be able to make their case after being notified, duly notified of a hearing date. They'll be able to have lawyers in if they so desire. And afterwards, the director will be making a determination about what the fine would be.
So you won't be in Spring Valley Justice Court to handle these. It'll be kind of like the Rockland Health Department, Health Board, excuse me.
Well, every case is different. There may be cases that are in Spring Valley Justice Court. I'm not going to say there absolutely will not be.
Mm-hmm.
However, the plan for this unit is going to be using administrative funds.
Okay. You mentioned the moratorium. I'm sorry.
I was just going to bring that up, the 30-day moratorium that starts today, and
Yes.
what is that stopping? I know that there's a backlog.
March 15th.
Okay,
What?
it starts March 15th?
No,
It ends
on
March,
15th.
but what exactly is that moratorium again? What is that stopping?
What we're doing, we're basically freezing the scenario we have right now. We want to focus mainly on the complaints that we have, situations that we're aware of, that show the strongest threat and maybe an imminent threat to public safety or life and property. So we just want to focus on those as best we can. We have a certain amount of resources. We want to throw all of it into that mix to try to make sure that we don't have another tragedy. It
So
really
no
would not be
applicant-
logical. We may have a need for a follow-up inspection, or the inspection might have been at a location already. It makes more sense now to make sure that instead of going back for a second inspection within 30 days, for example, that we look at the potential problems we have out there that could really be a serious problem, And in point of fact, this has already been put together, we have a list of places that we're gonna be going to.
Right, but I mean, so no new applicants then for
No
these?
new,
That's what I was
no new
wondering.
applications for 30 days.
Okay.
What do you mean, no applications for what? For building, for
First.
permit? Oh, okay, so it's a moratorium on rehab or construction?
Okay, 30 days.
You're
Again, this
stuck,
may
okay.
be inconveniencing some, but it's my judgment that we truly need to make sure that we throw every resource we have to make sure that we don't have any, that we address any situations that show imminent threat to life or property.
I think you mentioned, or Ed mentioned, you had 20 inspectors? Was that 20, did I misunderstand?
No, that's correct.
20, because you started out with 12, that was your original. So you have 20 inspectors
So we have
from,
20 inspectors that are gonna be on staff for building, fire, and code. And if necessary, we'll bring more on.
okay.
So there's a backlog of 800 complaints you're saying at this time?
Over 800 complaints there that we need to follow up on inspections.
Okay.
So they're overdue inspections, correct?
Overdue inspections, that's what those 800 complaints are?
Yes.
You can't go into the details?
No.
Okay.
And that encompasses what? Businesses, apartment houses that are plus whatever? There's a certain range for apartment houses, does it matter? Schools, yeshivas, what exactly?
Just to give you the short answer, the nutshell answer,
Please.
is certain kinds of multiple dwellings and places where people live are inspectable every 3 years under the state's code. They're required to be inspected. Adam, correct me if I go too far off. And places of public assembly, to just give it a short description, places where people gather are inspectable every year, are required to be inspected every year by state law, state regulations.
So with today being day one, what's the first order of business? How are you guys hitting the ground running today?
The director shall answer that.
Well, that's a lengthy question to answer, but initially, we're going to start, familiarizing the new staff. We just brought Spring Valley over, we just brought on our contractors. We're going to be prioritizing our list of inspections that are outstanding based on the severity of the violations, indoctrination, and familiarization for today. And then we're gonna hit the ground running with a full schedule of inspections to come in this week and next week.
Okay, so you'll be going out and inspecting sometime this week then? not
Yes,
today?
absolutely.
Okay, getting your ducks in a row.
Ed, can you just give us a little background on why the state ordered this, and will it resolve the problems?
Okay, I'll speak very briefly, because again, this issue, and some people really still not understanding of this is not something Rockland County was pushing to do. Rockland County is the next level of government that would normally have to assist. There were a number of years where in the village of Spring Valley, the State Department of State was not satisfied with some of the work that was going on, some of the documentation. So there's a whole list of issues. There was a monitor there for a bit of time. So the State Department of State at some point said, okay, we've waited, we've tried, we want the county of Rockland to take over this function. And again, it is not something that's done lightly. It has never been done in the state of New York, as I said earlier. It's the first of its kind. So we essentially have been deputized to go in, and specifically in the order that was given to us, it basically says that we're to go in, work with the village, address the deficiencies to a point that the state will approve Spring Valley going back to managing their own shop. With that, this is where the transition is important. We don't want to lose the flavor of the folks who are working there now. We want to maintain them. So at some point, we will be meeting with the state regularly. They'll be monitoring the effort. And at some point, our goal, to your question, is to do what we can do to protect the life and property of residents of Spring Valley, visitors, and our first responders. And that's pretty much it. Once that had been accomplished, I would presume the state would say, Spring Valley, you got the ball back.
You know, any guess how long that might take?
It's going to take a while. If I give you any number, if I'm wrong either way, but I have a lot of faith in the structure of what we put together here. We have the right people in place, starting with the director. We have a tremendous support cast in county government that will assist in getting anything we need done. This county government already, just to digress for a moment, addressed both a measles crisis and a pandemic. They did it by working together, various departments working together to get something good done. And this is exactly what you're seeing here. We have the same all-hands-on-deck approach, and we have a lot of talented people in county government, starting with the leaders in county government. So I have every faith that we will get the job done. We do have highly qualified people who will be going out. That includes Spring Valley inspectors, contractors who we picked up. They'll go out and get the job done. So it's, we don't see this as being a forever scenario by any stretch of the imagination, and frankly, we don't want to be. I mean, we have to respect the village, the other level of government's identity, and that's also important to the people in those particular villages. So we're going to work together, pull the oars in the same direction, and try and get it done as rapidly as we can.
He's not here today, but how did the conversation go, if you had one, with Mayor Alan Simon over the weekend or leading up to this? Did you have any issues with him about it?
I didn't speak to the mayor over the weekend. I have spoken to him off and on over a period of time, naturally, but not over the weekend, no.
How has that gone, though? I mean, even leading up to this, how have those conversations gone, if you could characterize it in some way?
Well, Alan's a colorful character, but I'm a bit stubborn, so I guess we could have occasional yelling matches, I guess, but at the end of the day, he's a government leader, I'm a government leader, we work together to get things done. So, and absolutely, I actually do work well with the mayor, so.
I think that'll do it. Oh. Did you want to ask about
What
that?
role, I'm sorry, there was something that was put out by a group called YID Information. I'm sure you might be aware of it. And basically in their opening paragraph, they suggested if someone comes knocking at your door, maybe Mr. Humphreys or someone else, an inspector, don't let them in, basically ignore them, basically don't cooperate.
Right.
What are you going to do about that if you come to my house and I say, take a hike, you're not coming in, you're not inspecting?
Well, what we're first going to do about it is what I think the most appropriate thing to do, and what it says here, it says, because I did get this also last night, it is troubling. It says Rockland County will start to enforce fire and building codes for buildings in Spring Valley starting tomorrow, meaning today. If you have an illegal basement, make sure not to have a family name on the door. Do not open the door for any stranger or inspector. Now, nobody's going to open the door for a stranger, but an identified inspector is a whole different situation. These are one of the things that totally vex me, both as a former police officer and as a parent. What I would say to folks who get this message is the following. I've had the unfortunate scenario in my life that I had to go take 2 children out of a fire. Both those children were dead. One was nearly 2, one was 3.5. Horrible, horrible thing. There's only one thing more horrible than that scene that I went through. Was thinking for a moment that it could have been my 2 boys. I would ask everybody to understand, if an inspector comes to your house, we are merely trying to ensure that you are living in a safe place. There's nothing wrong with it, you have egress ability, that you will not become, your children will not become what happened to the Nesbitt boys back on Tilden Street in the Bronx in 1998, as I recollect. These are the things that haunt ex-cops, and Eddie certainly understands this. What I find, that what I'm going to point out is that obviously this message to some degree is coming from the same people who have been putting people in death traps for a long time. And for one reason and one reason only, to make a buck. So it asks people who are being beckoned to get in the way of what we're trying to do, which simply is to make your house, make sure it's safe, to understand that you are not liable as a tenant for doing anything wrong. You cannot be charged for that. If you don't comply with a warrant, which is the next step to it, if we're denied service, we will get a warrant. That's just natural standard procedure. You don't really want to be in a situation like that, because then you are doing something illegal. But you as a tenant are innocent. You are the one who's there. You're paying your rent. You're doing everything by the book. You're living your life. You have the person who put you in that apartment at the risk of your life asking you to get in the way. Think about that for a second. So I would just simply say to people, you know something, things can happen We've seen them happen already. Fires have killed people. Don't think it can't happen to you, but if you take a step back and look at the utter chutzpah that is being thrown at you as a resident of an apartment, it's just absolutely beyond belief. So I would just tell people, you have a choice. You can listen to the folks who are trying to do the right thing by you, make sure that you don't have tragedy beset you and your family, or you can listen to the people who actually put you in that situation potentially. That's all I would offer to the families of Spring Valley.
Can you spell chutzpah?
Chutzpah.
Okay.
I'm from Brooklyn, Steve.
Excellent music.
I may be Christian, but I'm from Brooklyn, and we all got along together.
Okay, I just forgot how to spell it.
I doubt that.
And we know you have some.
Thank you. Say there's a comment. Any other questions,
There
folks?
was.
Okay, well, again, thank you for being here, and thank you most of all for bringing the message to the people of Rockland, especially the residents of Spring Valley, what we are trying to do today. Thank you.